Stand by for the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. Coming up next, Forbidden History Live. Please note that the following views and the opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily the views nor the opinions of the Master Force Group, YouTube.com, Free America Radio Network, our sponsors, our partners, and MFG is a private society. Nothing here is ever to be construed as hate, medical, nor legal advice. And listen to the Forbidden History prime time 7 days a week right here on the realpublicradio.net, because hidden beneath the sands of time lies the greatest of all mysteries. It's the Forbidden History. Unearth for yourself the secret truths that lie hidden just beneath the surface below our feet. What is it that the powers that be do not want you or I to know? Come and journey with us as we explore and dare to know, because it's all right here, coming your way 7 days a week, somewhere out there around the world on the realpublicradio.net, Free America Radio Network, and Forbidden History Live YouTube channel. Go to youtube.com and then search for Forbidden History Live. Next. Coming to you live from Studio Z at the Lighthouse in Central Ohio and Free America Radio Network in the land of dreams, enchantments, and nightmares. It's Forbidden History Live. What they didn't want you to know, that we tell right here. Stand by for the broadcast. Because it's a rough, rowdy world out there, and we need to come together to share the most important information on the face of the entire earth, or under the earth, because here is where we bring you the very best in radio broadcast listening while we reveal the greatest secrets and the deeper mysteries of life. Yet the one question that will always remain will be this: can you handle the truth as it will be presented here this evening, tomorrow morning, in the future, wherever you are around the world? I don't care what you know, what you don't know. It's the Forbidden History. It's what they didn't want you to know that we tell right here. And I'm your host, Dezert-Owl, and want to thank Shelley, our engineer, Yochelleg, for doing such a great job and bringing the emergency broadcast system your way. That's right, a flood has encroached upon our land, ladies and gentlemen. It's an invisible flood, and we're all drowning in it, you know. And we have to swim up to the top, to the surface, to be able to breathe the fresh air of the light of truth, and take the old devil. Thank you. Good to have you, and Ninja, and That Way, and anybody else out there listening. And I'm just grateful to be here to share. I never thought I had this long to live, you know, and to be here. I don't know if it's living yet, but it's to be here because of I've been in this since last century, you know, and it didn't look good. We didn't think we were going to make it to this century, and here we are. And Glenn Keeley, who does a great job of revealing their code as well as I do. Said, by the time, the reason when you go to the eye doctor, they say you got 20/20 vision, is so that all the occult societies wouldn't forget that. Hey, by the way, when we get to 20/20, you will see things perfectly. Okay, so we, the final winding down phase, I think, will be beyond the natural disasters and the phony war, the ultimate in the fascist state. The fascist state that wants to kick you in the teeth with their jackboot, and if you don't sing Hayakawa by or whatever tune they want you to sing, or go high octave, which most of us won't be able to do. So unless they kick us in the groin, perhaps, and maybe we'll be able to get a high note out. But certainly those who know the truth won't want to sing the tune. Maybe they'll be good pretenders. I don't know. But I don't want to sell myself out for a fascist state or for a phony perk or anything like that. We have to realize that we will be tested in the battle that is been ongoing. It's not brewing. It's been ongoing. It's been with us for forever. Really on this world, that the secret societies and the proverbial Vekoresh, the Watchers, have been playing the game for thousands of years. The full amount, well, I think easily we could say 8,000 now, 8,000, give or take. Okay, so just know that it is a mystery because they've controlled all of our knowledge or information, our history, and therefore whoever has wins the battles writes the history. But of course, they waged the first battle, so they've been controlling the history from the beginning. And so it's just an amazing world, Mr. and Mrs. Smith. And welcome again to the broadcast. To any new listeners out there, I'm your host, Dezert-Owl, bird who sees in the night. I see too much, and I'm trying to ramp up a broadcast that actually, with all the bad news out there, provides hope. And the hope is a word that means opening. And the original thought, we need to bump that up if we can. Shelley, the sun isn't perfectly centered. Is that possible to fix, or we'll have to work on that, off broadcast, because it should be centered and it's not for some reason. So, but anyway, it's a beautiful sunburst, that's for sure. And we got that on the banner. Okay, very good. Off broadcast, we'll fix that. And but it is a banner that the sun. This picture of the sun for me, really says it all, because this is where we came from. You see, I'm talking about the planets, the moons that are going around it, came from that source. They came out. They were birthed by the by the sun, and that's why they go around the sun, because it's the mother star. And by the way, if you do have a comment or question, please put my name in capital letters, okay? Desert, all capital letters, then whatever your comment and question is. That way I know you're talking to me. Otherwise, I'll miss it, okay? And so we're talking about symbolism. And what's interesting is I was yesterday on Ninja Cat 111, we had looked like a new listener. I had not seen him before, and he went by the name of Kip. And and he, I saw it when I reviewed the program. I saw he when he heard us talking about the sun, he actually knew, because he referred to the Psalm 19, and he said something about the house of the sun. And he said, and I know the psalm, and I went to it just to remember the exact scripture, and there it is, 19:14, Psalm 19:14, and it says that he set up his tabernacle in the sun, in the house of the sun. Okay, the throne. In other words, it's the throne. You've been hearing me say this over and over, and he had it. He got it. He knew that. He had heard that before. And it was a really wonderful new listener, because he was very humble and very interactive, and had some really great questions, and because he was honest in that he was still trying to figure things out, and therefore he was able to interact very well with the broadcast and really make a contribution that way. So if anybody has comments or questions, we always respect them here, and I'm wanting to help anybody that's trying to figure something out. Okay, that's all I do is basically review, study, watch documentaries, and that's what I've been doing for decades. Okay, and hey there, Christina, and good to have you as well. And so then I referred immediately to another scripture in Revelations, and interesting, another chapter 19 again, but this time verse 17, and it says he saw the corrupt version says I saw the angel standing in the sun, but it's really the royal messenger, the royal Malak, and it is Yeshua. Who else would be standing in the sun other than Yeshua? Go figure. He's the one who all power was given unto him. Well, if all power was given unto him, what more power could you have than a power of a star? Naturally, he'd be seated in the throne of the sun, ruling the solar system. And but he is all things. So therefore, he's all stars. And he's an all star and all stars. So isn't it interesting that term is with us? It has an interesting meaning all of a sudden. I never looked at it that way. But you see, what they removed from our scriptures is, other than where we find it in these very few references, and there's more when you read Lamsa in the Ecclesiastes or the Song of Solomon. Can't remember which one, but in there it talked about the sun as well. In other words, when it referred to the SON, it really said SUN, the Son. In another place, the Son, SUN of God, not the SON of God. You see, so the theme is in there, but it's very rare because they basically remove the light. That's what the occultists do, and they replaced it with the word heaven, and heaven is therefore a cyber code, what I call a cyber code, for primarily the use of the word sun, but also for sky, also for cosmos. And so you have to read not the context, but the pretext of what you're looking at, and then try to assess, well, what would it be? But what's interesting in the word heaven is if the word H is the, then it's the even, and the even, as you can hear it, is the evening. And so literally what would be referred to as the sun is really being referred to as the darkness in the code, just like Yeshua with the Syeshuah, Yeshua in the Messianic tradition, very messy, means may his name be blotted out forever. And what's worse, of course, when Jesus, we always thought it was the healing Zeus, is worse. Now that I've been looking into my Indo-Germanic dictionaries, and now God, it's Sus. S-U-S means pig snout, and ye, of course, means you. So Jesus really means you pig snout, and that makes sense because we know that it was the Khazarian Jewish banking controlling the Kabbalistic Freemasonry as well, that of all for the Vatican, gave us these terminologies because they really hate our Savior, because his name never was Jesus, it was Yeshua, and it's a deeper meaning than that. We talked about it on the last broadcast. Yeshulim va, more primitively, the more primitive root. You see, you have to hear these words, eshavors, which is correct for words, over and over before you really get it. Because when you hear them the first time, it's like you can't wrap your mind around it. You've been under mind control. How you were probably programmed to say, when you hear these words, you will suddenly feel sick in your stomach and you will not be able to accept the truth, And so, but if you hang in there and vomit a little, you may have to vomit because you've got to vomit the world out, because everything you've ever heard is a lie. Everything is false, incorrect, incomplete, misleading, designed to kill you, hates your guts, and wishes you were dead already. And you are dead because they bonded your hide, and statutorily, legally, you are a debtor and a slave and dead. Okay? There's really no hope for you at this point until you take the red pill, ladies and gentlemen. You need to take that proverbial red pill, okay? So swallow deep, because you are going on for a ride that you have never been on before, and nobody is talking about it. It's rather interesting, and Ninja, I think, is trying to talk to me here. So let me see what she's saying. And thank you, Shelley. It looks like you got that a little better centered. We still need to work on it, but it's great that she's Yogeneer. She's really doing it here, and it helps. It really helps the the draw the interest of people, so they're not bored looking at well, when I was trying to do it, it's like, okay, how do I do a program and do graphics at the same time? It's rather hard to do. Well, it seems like the original photo would have been centered. Now you're getting a little better. That's a little better. I don't know what you're doing, how you're doing it, but you're closer. You can wait till the tomorrow or something if you want. Or keep doing it. I don't care. It's all right. We do live Yogeneering. We do it with our eyes closed sometimes. It's amazing. But we got to open our eyes. Okay. So Ninja's got a word here. Desert and the New Age movement mimics the truth with false light and sun worship. Well, I haven't. I haven't specifically heard about the New Age worshiping the sun, but I think they pretend to be of the light. Just like Freemasonry. They had a magazine out in the 1930s called New Age. When did the New Age in the 1970s become new? It had been around through Freemasonry for already 50 years at least, if not more. So they're the old age. It's the old adage. They want the light, they love the light, but they're really the mother sons of darkness. That's what Masonic means, mother son of darkness. So the joke's on all of them, except at the top, because they've got their little perk and control. They love the control factor. Okay, and then I have one more interesting definition I got on Shem. I couldn't get over it because I was watching a documentary, and in Nubian, get this, in Africa, and it's probably been influenced through the Aramaic. I have to certainly look at it more, but it's a preservation of the original truth, and that it is that the word sun in Nubia on the Nile River is because it was the river journey. It was I can't remember the name of there was like 5 parts, and the longest journey of the Nile, the longest river in the world, and in Nubia they called the sun Shem. I couldn't get over it. Shem, who is Melech Eshadak, and correctly it would be Esham. And so Shem, more correctly, is Esham, put an A in the front because they removed all the A's. All these words are abbreviated, and you have to know the original roots, and they get watered down through time. So Esham. And then what's my other note here? Shem. James called Shem Sea of Light. Seed of light, yeah, is also called Shem, and I don't remember. I should have taken more notes on that particular word. But so how appropriate that Melchizedek, who is also Shem, therefore by his very title represents the sun. And of course they've taught us to hate the light. No. You talk about the sun, it's sun worship. Sun worship. No, you must be pagan, and they don't get it. Kazar means the Earth star. He's got the fiery keys of the sun. That's also what K means, the fiery keys, and the fire, the keys, and earth, because why? The fiery keys are on the earth. The fiery keys, we could also call all the beauty of nature, which is the emerald green. It's called the Emerald. Remember the Emerald City in Wizard of Oz? They're telling you with the Emerald City, the Earth is the Emerald Citadel. It is the Emerald Fire. It is the Emerald Fire. And in fact, I remember one of the revelations in the book of the Essenes, in the Gospel of the Essenes, and I think it's a revelation, another revelation of John. I haven't read it in a couple decades. I got to go back and read it, and maybe I'll share it on the broadcast. But it talked about how when the river of light flowed out from the sun, the river that parted into the four directions, you won't find it on Earth in the literal sense, because the river of light is the metaphor, for the atomic creation that flowed down and parted into the four directions on planet Earth, because all of Earth gets light, where was I going with that now? Now I'm having my senior moment. Got to backtrack on that one. Let me see, where was I at on that? Ninja, you know the answer? No. Okay. Well, that's okay. We can. I'll go back and listen to it, and then I'll bring it up again in the future. Okay. And but I want to get into the new history of America. Boy, I'm sure that was a good point I was trying to make, and I can't remember it now. So that's okay. That's okay, because we're going to do this thing till they pull the plug. Okay. And there's a lot of ground to cover. And if I left you on a cliffhanger and you want to ask a question, you can do that. And, you can call in anytime. I would love to have a caller generated program, because I'm here to answer anybody's questions. I'm already filled up. Okay. I don't have any more questions. All right. I feel like I've got the picture for myself. All right. And I think it was about sun worship, wasn't it? Yeah, because anytime they want to, but everything came out of the sun. That's how I started the broadcast here. Okay. So get the picture, ladies and gentlemen. And, but before we get into some of the spiritual end of it, I wanted to get into the new history of America, which correctly is the original history of America by the Informer. The Informer has passed away now, and I always wanted to interview him. It was like I'd seen his work. Many of my patriotic friends were, getting copy. And I was always so busy making phone calls and going to the copy machine, buying copies. I never had money to buy all these other books people were buying, and I was paying my phone bill, my faxes. That was before we had really had the computer going, and so I was spending every last dime I had to save America. Yeah, wasn't that stupid, huh? I mean, we're really going to save something that's not ours? Well, it would be like being in the Roman Empire, right? Could you imagine being in the Roman Empire and saying, well, I think we need to kick Nero out, and I think we need to, clean up Rome. Yeah, let's clean up Rome and let's kick the bums out. Yeah, I think you'll be nailed to a cross pretty quick. Or sliced in half or thrown to the lions, but it's not your beast. Okay, it's like people want to say, nice beast, come on, nice beast, pet the beast, hug the beast, and maybe the beast won't eat us. No, the beast will eat you, because the beast wants you. It wants to eat you alive, because that's what a beast does. The beast hates your guts. The beast has lied to you all your life. Are we having fun yet, Mr. Smith? Mm-hmm. So I think let's learn a little bit more about the other alternative history of America that we have not been told. Let me just close my blinds here. And the moon is we just had our new moon, and it is very beautiful out there in the sky. Beautiful sunset tonight. I couldn't get over it. I couldn't stop looking at it. The bright orange. It was just so with the clouds, reflecting on the clouds, but it's not like it ever was in our past. It is so different. The chemical makeup now of our sky is just no telling. The phenomena that is occurring, all the different types of phenomena in the clouds with the ice. Not to mention the ice nucleation, but just literally, the things that are supernatural within this, it's just a mind blower. We're in a whole nother arena now, ladies and gentlemen, and I just watched a documentary on the insects, and basically, there is no question that on a general wholesale level that all insects populations have been reduced below 25%, and some are now extinct. And so once you no longer have pollination by butterflies and bees and other insects, flies, then there is no more food harvesting, and so we're really there. If anybody can open their eyes and just look and do a little search, there is no question, our world is over. Okay, they're not able to bring it back. These psychopaths were on are order takers. It's sort of like the classic Jim Jones. I just watched the several of the documentaries and the movie on Jim Jones, and it was a classic microcosm of Marxism and fascism all rolled into one, communism all rolled into one, with the Jim Jones program. If you ever wanted to see a microscopic view of the nature of communism / Marxism / fascism / mind control, then just watch those go do a search, okay? Because literally these people were terrorized into there was no mass suicide, it was mass murder. They either drank the cup voluntarily or they stabbed him with a needle, and they got him up every night. They never stopped broadcasting throughout the night. And then they had all these guards around, and nobody can get it that those guards that were surrounding them were the CIA. Well, Jones was the CIA operative, and all the people were the pawns in the game. Hey, how come I didn't? As it was well pointed out, the guns were pointed inward, not outward. What were they protecting themselves from with guns? They're in a jungle somewhere. There is no enemy, and so it was quite a study, and also on how religion is used, to deceive, mind control. In other words, the someone posed a question one day very well. They said, where do you think the leaders of the Illuminati, the Illuminati families, these power brokers that are still another on the chessboard as another piece that's being manipulated and moved, because they're not really the head, they're still the tail. But where would they be? Would they be politicians? Would they be judges? And the answer is no. They wouldn't have one of those stupid jobs, nor are they the bankers. The Illuminati, we can see them in religion. They are the Schulers, the Crystal Cathedral. They are Pat Robertson. You see him given the lion's paw on Time magazine. The lion's paw is like the ultimate symbol, okay, of meaning you're one of the power brokers in the world. But he's not the unseen hand. You saw his hand. He's just said, "I'm the paw of the lion." He's the paw of the lion, and the lion on the doors, the lion at the front of the buildings is the power symbol, of course. But 700 Club. Backwards, you get bull. Club backwards is bull. 700 is 007. 007, it was touted as being the first code name for the first secret agent here in America, I guess, working for banking in the Vatican or something like that. But so the Illuminatis, I remember in the 1980s watching the 700 or TBN, another Masonic Front TBN. Broadcasting, with Jim and his wife with 10 pounds of makeup on. I can't remember their names. Jim and phony makeup Crouch. Whatever his wife's name was. But so watching all of that, it was just like, you want to vomit. But I gathered a lot by watching. And I'm trying to remember what my original point was. Now it's going somewhere. It's a Masonic Front, and what was the point I was trying to make? Well, I can't remember now. I'm getting old. Okay, Jan, thank you very much, Paul and Jan Crouch, and but what was my point? They're fronts, okay, without remembering what the original direction I was going in. They control all information, ladies and gentlemen. The whole gamut of what they do is controlling information, and then it gets filtered, and so there is no. That's why we got 600 versions of Christianity, 600, and that's the problem we have. We've got, and it all stems out of the Vatican. Okay, yeah, I'm on an egg roll. It's been one of those millenniums for me. Okay, I think I'm ready for a vacation. I don't get a paid vacation. I don't get paid. So there you go. That's why I don't go on vacation. I got to keep rolling by the grace of the Father above, and thank you, Father, for your great protection and for the dedication of the very few friends of your network that you have right here to keep it going, and that are doing a wonderful job. Ninja's doing great graphics on her program and bringing me on twice a week, and we'll be back on with Ninja Cat 111 on Sunday, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll be on also tomorrow morning here on Forbidden History Live at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Okay, and so I got long-winded there, I know, and so let's go into the Forbidden History of America, Chapter 1. Okay, these are very short little segments, and then I will get. I'm just going to do one each program. I want to read it, but I don't. With what I've got going on with the translation project now, and I'm trying to ramp up, I don't have time to read anymore, so I can do my reading here. So whatever I'm trying to wrap my mind around, I want to share with all of you because I think it's relevant truth. Okay, and so Chapter 1 in the Forbidden History of America, Chapter 1, the Crown. Charles the First granted the Carolina. Consisting of parts of what is now Virginia, North and South Carolina, and Georgia to Sir Robert Heath in 1629. He transferred it to Henry Frederick Hart, Lord Maltrave, in 1638. Charles II in 1663 granted to 8 men called proprietors all of Carolina, not Carolina, but Carolina, replacing Heath's grant. And actually, that'd be more correct to say because the I is a corruption, as I pointed out. They began the first land tax called the quit rent. Okay, you quit paying rent, you just pay tax. Quit rent. This tax quit the landowner from certain, but not all, feudal obligations to the crown, but this money went to the proprietors to run the colony, and the rest went to the king. The proprietors created a document called Concessions and Agreement in 1665. This was really the first constitution to entice newcomers to settle in Carolina. Okay, and what's interesting is I had a friend in the movement, and I haven't talked to her in a couple years, but wow, what a researcher she was, and she found out. She found all of us on Wall Street. That's one of the things she found out, and that all the corporations, America, United States, about 100 different versions of United States, even Canada, all of them operating, doing business, DBA as on Wall Street. Okay, all corporations, right? Even the Vatican is registered apparently in Delaware. Don't ask me. Okay, I'm just telling you. The point that this shell game, and it's interesting that Delaware is like the smallest state, next to Rhode Island, I guess, but all the corporations stem in Delaware, and I have to look at that word. So there's a lot of interesting things going on. But what I learned through this lady friend is that the word plantation isn't what we think it means either, like so many of the other words. And plantation is not an estate, a farming plantation, or what we call plantation. No, it's not. Actually, it's not a farm. It's not the ground. The plantations were those who they brought over here, like as indentured contract servants or peons, 7 years. Some of them, they were indentured for 7 years, and they can go do their thing. Okay, but they're brought over here. Those that they brought over here to cut the trees, to do the hard, the first pioneering, pioneer eye, pioneer ear, and they were the plantations. Okay, that's the original meaning of the word. The royalty. Oh, King Edward, how do you think the plantations are doing over there today? Well, I'm sure they're doing okay, sweetie. Okay, well, very good. So nothing as we haven't heard the truth, ladies and gentlemen. We're like watching cartoons and just talking about such important things like Tammy and Bippy and Bubba and Boo Boo, and we never get it. There's real important work we got to do in order to escape this insanity that we're in. Okay, and that's what we're trying to do here. Just go back and listen to some of the other broadcasts, and you'll get the picture. Okay, so the Crowns. Here's the next title for this chapter: The Crown's Comrades and the British Board of Trade. In 1669, they created the Fundamental Constitutions of Carolina, allegedly written by John Locke. Allegedly, well, boy. Okay, because John Locke, he was quite a scholar. I never read much of John Locke's work, but this guy's got a good reputation. He really defined the common law. Who served as secretary to the proprietors. Locke, in effect, I hope he wasn't another one of them. I'm trying to figure this out. Locke, in effect, was true to the crown in this position. A man who espoused freedom. Oh, now he's putting the question mark to it. A man who espoused freedom? Okay, there you go. See, now I was just questioning it, and now the informer is questioning it as well. Okay, so Locke, I guess, was taking it under the table, right? Could have been. Maybe so. I don't know. I have not read Locke. He was quite a scholar back then, so read his work if you want to figure it out. Okay, this Constitution provided for a feudal system. Okay, yeah, feudal. And they created a lot of feuds in the process too. But also Constitution, is take off the N and you get Constitutio, and a Constitutio is an imperial decree, a Roman imperial decree. It's the orders of Caesar, and Caesar says you're going to do, or you're dead, or you go to prison. So Constitution, the N, when you add the N, as I've talked about it on the broadcast, means that which came down. Okay, so Constitution that's why they want everybody. I was talking about, new nation, wherever, Romania, wherever. Oh, Constitution, yeah, we're going to let's get a Constitution. They always. Somebody whispers in somebody's ear, you got to have a Constitution. No, you don't want a Constitution. It's like constipation. It'll make you sick. All right, because it's all a fraud. All a fraud. There is no legitimacy in this world. So you can go try to save Rome if you want to, but it's not your plantation. It's not your estate. Okay, that's the thing. You got to realize it's not your world. It's a show. What do they call war theater? A man who espoused freedom. Oh, this Constitution provided for a feudal system, and Locke hated this system. Yeah, sure. I bet he did. That's what the informer is saying. Tell me another story. Locke had to completely ignore the common law of the Lord, the history and principles. In his whole 2 treatises on civil government, he mentions the common law and trial by jury 1 time each, and both in non-ecclesiastical context. Well, I guess the billing I've been hearing about Locke isn't as good as it should be. His plan, is better than it should be, actually. His plan, legislative branch, and completely ignored the judiciary. So this Constitution, he helped draft, created the counties and holders of titles of nobility to operate them. So much for Locke and freedom. Yeah, I can't get over it. All these years I've been hearing nothing good about Locke, and now we're getting the other side of the story. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Did you tell your friends about the broadcast? We're still looking at 6 down here, It's all right. That's all right. The world doesn't love the truth anyway. The proprietors where am I at here? His plan for government consists of an executive and legislative branch and completely ignored the judiciary. So this constitution he helped draft created the counties and holders of titles of nobility to operate them. I see. It's the oligarchy again. All right. The proprietors, he's getting it under the table. There you go. The proprietors and the holders own 2/3 of the land. The rest was held by people like you and me. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The proprietors was the, go look up peonage, ladies and gentlemen. The proprietors was the Palatine court that ruled and set policy in this period. In 1693, the fundamental constitution was abolished, but 5 years later it was revised in abbreviated form, but never was accepted by the assembly. Notice the first three letters of that word, assembly, okay? The proprietors chose a government of North Carolina, 1689 to 1729. The government appointed a council. This council of state exists today in every state and consists in the executive governor's cabinet. Both the governor and the council were the legislator and the court. In 1700, the British Board of Trade was concerned with the loss of wealth from the colonies. It appears the king wasn't too concerned. The British Board of Trade and the Privy Council were there for the king to get guidance. They, in effect, ruled the colonies when the king carried out their guidance instructions. Just like when Clinton carries out the instructions, and that's Bill Clinton, I'm sure he's referring to, carries out the instructions of the moneylenders and stockholders of the private Federal Reserve System of today. The board, and of course that's when he has his pants on, the board was composed of agents of the king, members of the Privy Council, and the Archbishop of Canterbury, who represented the Church of England. They refused to allow the Lombards of Jewish moneylenders into their board. It was because of this that the Jewish moneylenders rule in America today through the Federal Reserve System. That's their bank. The federalism is the World Federation. There's your dual system right there. Washington is the puppet, it's the showpiece, and the real head of everything is the Federal Reserve banking system. Because America went bankrupt, it was dissolved, no longer exists, only in name and in somebody's mind. This will be explained later. The Encyclopedia of American History is a good source of what the Board of Trade did. It says that in 1697, the British Board of Trade, under the Navigation Act, there's that navigation, okay, what we talked about, the emerging sea. The Navigation Act established vice admiralty courts in all the colonies on the land. These courts had jurisdiction over trade, ordinary maritime cases, as well as prize. It even granted jurisdiction by the Act of 1722 over infringements concerning timber. These admiralty courts, set up under the Townshend Acts, centered final control in America. Quoting from Benedict on Admiralty, 1850, its necessary effect, the act was, however, to start the courts on that system of practice, and really to impose upon them in admiralty and maritime cases the civil law practices, as that under which they must continue to administer justice even after the expiration of that act until further provision could be made. Now that we got the sun up there and we're reading this, I want to define fascism, which where we get the term fasci from. The fasci we see on both sides of the speaker's podium in the rotunda, right, where they always give the State of the Union address once a year, every January. The end of January, we get the State of the Union, and the president is always, El Presidente is always talking, to his higher up, and we think he's talking to us, and he's really speaking code, and he's talking to his boss, and we're all bobbing our heads, thinking, yeah, man, this is great stuff, yeah, and we don't even get it, and so the fasci on each side literally represents the sun. There's the sun again, okay, because the battle axe and all the surrounded in the leather straps wrapped together, the ebony rods, the black ebony rods, The axe in the middle of all that, the fasci, is the symbol of the sun, and the battle axe, which was known as the berserker battle axe by the Celtic um, Irishmen, and the Phoenicians, that could take on three swords, could take on five swords. They get a dozen men running the other direction. They take off all their clothes and their spots and their the fiery red hair. Then the people, say, "Look at this guy's nuts. Let's run." And 12 people run away. They don't care, you know. You gotta do a little research and learn this stuff, ladies and gentlemen. But they're telling us the axe was the weapon that conquered the world. It crafted a ship and could take on a half dozen men easily. It's amazing, what we don't hear. That's why they got the term going berserk, okay? Section 105, it states, continuing here, the purpose of the constitutional grant, the essential harmony of the maritime law. The grand purpose of the Constitution was to unify the several states, several meaning separate, the whole people in their national, international, and interstate relationships, and all other purposes were subordinate and ancillary to this. Section 123 states, the commission to the governor as vice admiral was very full, granting in language so clear that it cannot be miscomprehended an admiralty jurisdiction as wide as and beneficial as the most zealous supporters of the English admiralty ever claimed for it. Okay, so this is again, admiralty law is the law of the high seas, and basically what it meant was whatever the captain of the ship says is the law at the time he says it, just like same in the courtroom, which is being ruled by the admiralty law. The law is what the judge says at the time that he says it. Okay, whatever comes, that's the law, and so of course with the in other words, like, okay, the captain of the ship says you climb up to the top of that mast, and you say, no way, I'm going up there. Well, guess what? If you get 40 lashes, you're lucky. If you get pushed overboard and killed, he could do that. All right. So that's basically the way it is here, where the admiralty is encroached upon the land, and that's why we got all these innocent people going to prison, because it's a railroad, and it's based on contract. The point I didn't get to, and I needed to make, is when you signed on to the ship in the admiralty law, you signed on the dotted line. You gave them all power. And so when, it started with the bonding of your birth certificate, but then when you signed, with the IRS thing, right? And they say, well, it's voluntary. You don't have to, pay taxes. It's actually all voluntary. And then you look what they do to people. But they call it officially voluntary compliance. And the thing is, if you never signed on to it, the truth is you don't have to pay the IRS anything, right? But the day you signed that first IRS document, you volunteered. And the irony is you just entered into a contractual relationship with them, and therefore it is now called voluntary compliance. Okay? Because since you volunteered, now you have to comply because you're in a contractual relationship. It's identical to the Army. They say, okay, everybody who accepts the contract, take one step forward, and if you don't move, and let everyone else step forward, they all entered in the contract. You still can go out the front door, and so that's why that what they do to people in the military. If they go to the brig, oh geez, it's as hard as prison gets. Those people, they'll give you bread and water literally. And you won't get a book, you won't get nothing. It's as hard time gets in the military brig. So it's cruel. This world is cruel, and what they're doing, with the shell game. It's a total shell game, ladies and gentlemen. Nothing legitimate, all a fraud. The fast shy, they're claiming to be of the light, and yet they're mother's sons of darkness. Claim to be of the light. What do you want, my son? Oh, Grandpa, give me more light. Let me give you a little more light, son. Yeah, here's another phony symbol. Masonry means we're of the light. No, they're of the darkness. That's also part of the Admiralty. They're crafty. Craft in Middle English, by the way, they call themselves the Craft, the Freemasons. Craft means treason in Middle English. I wonder why, huh? You don't buy craft food, do you? Okay, so where are we at here? This is the type of court that exists today, and why we cannot bring a pure article of the Bill of Rights argument. Well, a bill is not even law anyway, so the Bill of Rights is mute too. It should be the law of natural rights, but instead they call it a bill. A bill is something that can be passed into law, but it is not law because it was not passed into law. That's why it's called a bill of rights. They lied again. Right to bear arms. Well, that's a good one, because two is in the future. You can say that all day in court. Sure you do. You got the right to bear arms, but not today. Because it's like going to the store. You're not there yet. Going to. So the right to bear arms is sometime in the future. We don't know when, but it could occur, perhaps. I don't know. It's all a joke, ladies and gentlemen. It's the greatest show on earth. Okay, merchants with their civil law. Benedict states at Section 5 that the civil law was held to be in admiralty, closely resembled the civil law practice. Revenue comes under commerce and is basic to the jurisdiction of the Admiralty Maritime Court. Evidence, the fact every judge states that you can't bring that seventh article of the Bill of Rights in here. Don't bring the Constitution in here. What? What planet am I on? Why? Because it is evident after reading Benedict on the American Admiralty, its jurisdiction and practice, 1850, chapter 13, section 195, to wit, quote, so the Seventh Amendment is limited to suits at common law. At is another code word, which does not include either suits or of equity or of admiralty and maritime jurisdiction, unquote. All maritime revenue cases, whether state or United States, deal in contract. When you get to the end of chapter 16 and read the case, you come back to section 5 of Benedict. The following case quotes proves this point. Okay, turn the page. And I think I want to go all the way here. I guess I'll go all the way. Okay. American Insurance Company versus Cantor. 1 Pete 511, 545, 1828. A case in admiralty does not, in fact, arise under the Constitution or laws of the United States. Well, that's pretty interesting, isn't it? All revenue but you can tell by the flag they have in there. It's an admiralty flag with the fringe, the gold fringe, and so they're telling you. Remember, signs and symbols rule the world, not words nor law. And so by the symbol of what they got in that room who they really are, but they're not talking. Okay, that's the deal. As all revenue cases depend on contract. And by the way, that's why when some of the people get the judge, they figure, they know the scam, and they say the right words. All of a sudden, the judge walks out of the courtroom, because he knows he's being put on the spot. And then the guy that's in control, because he never dropped the ball and he's still on the offense and not a defense, he says the captain has abandoned ship. I claim title to my property, and you're out of there. You see, but you got to know how to close the deal. As all revenue cases depend on contract, where is your contract with them? That's a good question. Did you make a contract to stop at the stop sign? Did you make a contract not to cross in the middle of the street? Do you have a contract for any of that? Then they're the officer, he's coming to make you an offer. Offer, sir? No, sir, thank you. I don't accept your offer, and I don't consent to this proceeding. I don't accept your offer. Don't consent to this proceeding. I reserve all natural right. I don't know who you are. I think you're foreign jurisdiction, aren't you? So I'll show you later. Let me say here, all revenue cases depend upon contract. Where's your contract with them? I'll show you later, says the informer. But this is what Benedict states at section 204. Quote, in such cases, the question before the court is not whether the court has jurisdiction, but whether the party whether the party has right. It is not a question in abatement, but a question of the merits of the action. If the cause is a maritime cause subject to admiralty cognizance, jurisdiction is complete over the person. Jurisdiction is complete over the person being a fiction. Respell it and you get serpent, as well as over the ship. Okay, so if you're on the ship swabbing the deck, guess what? You signed the contract. Then you better do what they tell you to do. If you're, like the scripture says, are you a slave? Then don't seek to be freed. Be a good slave. Obey all the rules. But if you're a free man, then don't seek to be a slave. Okay, and don't accept their officer, and don't consent to their proceeding. I do not accept your offer. I do not consent to this proceeding. I don't know who you are. I don't know what this is about. I don't agree to anything. I don't understand anything you're talking about. I don't understand anything. In the courtroom, the judge says, "Do you understand anything?" And of course, if you look in Bouvier's dictionary from the 1860s, it says anybody that wants understanding is like, and I can't paraphrase it well enough, but you're an orphan, a bastard, a drunkard, and that's anybody that wants understanding. Okay, so it's not a good word, and therefore you would never want understanding, because you'd be standing under it, and therefore have to suffer the consequences. Okay, so no, Judge, I don't get anything you're talking about here. I don't even know what you're talking. What diction you're speaking? What language? As they say, it all begins with words and it ends with words. That's the maxim of law. It begins with words and it ends with words. So if you don't know the words they're using and you don't know the words you're using, guess what? You can't win the battle. You cannot win. It must, and you even need to know their nature, of course. It must, in its nature, be complete, for it cannot be confined to one of the remedies on the contract when the contract itself is within its cognizance. That's a mouthful right there. Unquote. The quote he used is from 12 Wheat 460, 7 Howard 729 Boyd's Proceedings. In their courts of today, do not lose sight of the fact I think he left out the word they. In their courts of today, they do not lose sight of the fact that the argument would be, quote, in all capital letters, they went outside their constitutional corporate law, merchant bylaw restrictions to attack you under presumption, unless you know to score, and fraud, and they don't mind that, violating the separate articles of the Bill of Rights, another fraud. This is an overly simplified statement. Don't be dragged into the argument that the Bill of Rights are amendments to the Constitution. No, the first 10 are articles, but they're still never were passed into law. The Bill of Rights has its own preamble that very few people know about. Therefore, it is a separate and distinct document from the Constitution. Actually, it was an afterthought, because the Constitution never had a Bill of Rights, never had a law of rights, never wanted to give you rights. They just wanted you swabbing the deck, slave. The Bill of Rights articles didn't amend a darn thing in the body of the Constitution. If it did, point to the specific part of the body that the second article of the Bill of Rights changed, the fifth and the seventh. You, as a private man, cannot claim a constitutional breach. In fact, you don't want to claim the Constitution at all. It's not yours. You didn't write it. You weren't signed on to it. It has nothing to do with you. In fact, it was just a fraud from the beginning. We've talked about that. See the Paddleford case, 14 Georgia 438. But you can claim a breach of the separate articles of the Bill of Rights and their fiduciary responsibility to you in these matters of God-given rights. In 1712, Edward Hyde was elected by the proprietors as an independent governor. This act separated North Carolina from South Carolina. In 1729, 7 of the proprietors transferred in full their shares back to the British Crown. The only holdout was Sir George Carteret. He retained 1/8 of the original grant of 1665 until the Board of Trade presented Parliament with a restraining act which barred the colonies by law from issuing paper, money, and letters of credit. This gave the king orders. This gave the king's orders the validity of formal law. The colonies didn't buy it for it destroyed their control of the trade. You see, there was no gold or silver being mined in America. They had to rely on gold and silver from other lands. England had most of the gold. On July 10th, 1754, the Confederacy was born because of this, the I like that one, Confederacy, the World Federation, was born because of this, so they could issue paper money only on their joint order. Ben Franklin had long advocated this. He was a secret agent of all. He was flying the kite with the key on it. Go get the picture, okay? Yeah, he discovered electricity. It means he was the power broker. That's the symbolism again, okay? Remember it? Signs and symbols rule the world. In March of 1775, the Pennsylvania Assembly borrowed money and issued bills of credit without authorization of either king or governor. The Board of Trade tried another ploy. The Board of Trade tried another ploy and said that gold and silver have intrinsic value because of them, and therefore should be used by the colonies. Because of them, issuing paper money, it ruins the colonies. So said the Tories. Now, this people, Franklin replied to the contrary, saying that paper money served as a medium of exchange and credit had made possible the growth of the colonies and their trade. He told the Board of Trade that the Tories argued that the paper money issued by the colonies was a delusion of their control of wealth. This explains why the federal government is denied the power to issue currency other than coin or to set up a charter bank, but they do it under emergency power, the emergency power. This is why the present-day British Board of Trade, this is why the present-day private Federal Reserve System, counterpart of the British Board of Trade, runs the country today. Yeah, well, we went bankrupt. Now, you know why the Crown initiated this the coin-only clause in the Constitution, so the private bankers could control the paper credit. Paper is not money. It's a note, and a note is a promise to pay, meaning when you take that paper to the bank, you say, okay, I'll take my gold or silver now. $1 gold, $1 silver, but dollar being a weight measurement, and guess what? They'll laugh you right into the paddy wagon, because the note cannot be redeemed. It is not good. It is not a note. It's a lie, and it's not a dollar because the dollar is weight measurement, and it's not money because money is round ore, gold or silver or platinum or something, lead or tin or copper, whatever, but it's not paper. Okay, so all right, that was a mouthful, and I don't, I haven't done much of the political history of America in a broadcast for a long time, but I'm finding this interesting, because it's forbidden history. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Okay, we're telling it right here because somebody's got to do it, and thank you for stopping by if you're tuned in, and hope you're telling your friends. And we're trying to have a revolution in thinking and trying to hear some things we've not heard before. I was just thinking today, watching a documentary on, Andrew Jackson and his history, and I didn't know enough of it, and so it was a good 2-hour presentation. I'm not done with it, and it ended with banking, interestingly enough. But I'm telling you, so many wonderful discoveries that have been made, they've been buried again over the last 50 years, whatever. The freedom people that care, really gave a damn. I'm telling you, they're here and gone, and the discoveries they made are being buried again. There's no way anybody, there's no cohesion. They are organized. The enemy's organized. They are perfect in what they do, but the people are disjointed. They're infiltrated. You cannot, fix the dead dog because the dead dog never was yours. That's why it just lays there, and it gets sicker all the time, because it's dead. It's just mortifying, So, Shelley, let's go to a break, and then we'll come back and we'll try to swing some more and do some more damage on planet Earth while we are still here. And I'm glad you're tuned in. Do hope you're telling your friends, because we're trying to have a revolution in thinking, but we need you to call in. We'd love to hear your comments or questions, or or just give us a radio check. Okay, you can get us on Skype, you can get us on the phone, or you can send up smoke signals. Whatever you want to do. But glad you tuned in, and don't go away. We'll be right back. I'm Dezert-Owl. Glad you tuned in. Okay, has nobody been here? You didn't hear anything I said out there, right? Nobody heard anything? I just saw that I was muted. Am I muted? Was I muted the whole time I've been talking?
Yes, you did. We muted.
I don't. Oh, I've been talking for 5 or 10 minutes and nobody told me.
I thought you were on a long break.
No, the music was over. I've been talking and I can't believe what I I did a classic presentation and nobody heard it. I can't believe it.
Wow.
Oh, jeez.
Sorry.
Yeah, I don't walk away from the broadcast. Somebody's got to give me a heads up here. All right, I've really lost my snuff at this. All right. Well, okay. Let's go to a book. I just did a 10-minute presentation that was lost to the universe again. I can't get over it. All right. Let me. All right. All righty. All right. Let's go to. Let's go here. Where are we at? I'm going to read from the scene. Or everybody was really patient out there waiting for me. I can't get over it. I would have thought somebody. Okay, dead air. Dead air means something's not right, and everything okay. Maybe they came and shot me, but nobody was asking. All right, so here we are in the Essene's Origin of Christianity by Chaos and Method. Fifth strands by the. Okay, so I don't want to read out of that either. I'll tell you what. We'll talk. Since I was talking about banking and we missed all that, I'm going to get into the Talmud and just talk about that real quick. And right, well, where we left off was on the rituals of the Babylonian Talmud, and prayer made every day, almost every hour, a religious experience for the Orthodox Jew. Okay, let me read that again. Prayer made every day, almost every hour, a religious experience. That's a joke for the Orthodox Jew. What a joke. Wonder who they're praying to. That's the question. Morning prayers were said to be said with phylacteries, small cases containing passages from the scriptures, affixed to the forehead and the arms. No meal was to be eaten without a brief grace before it, and a longer prayer of thanksgiving at its close. But these domestic prayers were not enough. Men can be held together only by doing things together, and the rabbis argued with Oriental hyperbole that an Ashan's prayer is heard by Yahweh only when offered in a synagogue. The public liturgy consisted mainly of the Shimone Esra, the Shema, Yisrael, reading from the Pentateuch, the prophets, and the Psalms, a homily of scriptural explanation, the Kaddish, prayers of praise and blessing for the living and the dead, and a concluding benediction. This remains the essential synagogue ritual to the present day. Far more detailed than these regulations of worship were the rules for cleanliness or ritual purity. And by the way, that was my mistake on that. I just want to clarify. I didn't unmute, and you probably just played the music again. I'm assuming because I turned the music off, but I was talking. So it's like I said, anything that can happen will happen on a broadcast. And doing all right. Physical hygiene was considered favorable to spiritual health. The rabbis forbade living in a city where there was no bathhouse, and gave almost medical instructions for the bath. I can imagine that. If one bathes, just like they did with pots and pans and cups, and if one bathes with hot water and does not follow it with cold water, it is like iron which is inserted into a furnace and not afterward plunged into cold water. The body, like the iron, must be tempered and steeled. Anointing should follow the bath. Hands were to be washed immediately upon rising before and after each meal, and before ceremonial prayers or any other ritual observance. Corpses, sexual functions, menstruation, childbirth, vermin, pigs, and leprosy, i.e., various skin diseases, were ritually, i.e., by religious law, unclean. Persons touched or affected by any of these were to go to the synagogue. That's synagogue is a code for putting out the eye of the sun, and perform a purification ceremonial. A woman was considered unclean, not to be sexually approached for 40 days after bearing a son, 80 days after bearing a daughter. Women always got a bad rap. In accord with the biblical injunction, Genesis 17, 9-14, a boy was to be circumcised on his 8th day. This was represented as a sacrifice to and a covenant with Yahweh, but the prevalence of the custom among Mitzrayim, Ethiopians, Phoenicians, Syrians, and Arabs suggests that it was a hygiene measure indicated in a climate more favorable to sexual I can't even say this one, precocity, and excitability than to cleanliness. And this conclusion is reinforced by the rabbinical command that no Judean should keep beyond 12 months an uncircumcised slave. The Talmud occasionally reads like a manual of home medicine rather than a code of religious laws. It had to be an encyclopedia of advice for its people. The Judeans of the 4th and 5th centuries, like most Mediterranean peoples, were slipping back into medicinal and superstition and makeshifts of the isolated and the poor. And the good deal of this proper and superstitious medicine entered into the Talmud. Nevertheless, we find in the Babylonian Gemara excellent descriptions of the esophagus, larynx, trachea, lungs, meninges, whatever that is, meninges, and genitals, tumors, and the lungs, cirrhosis of the liver, caseous degeneration, and many other diseases are accurately described. The rabbis note that flies and drinking cups may carry infection, and hemophilia is recognized as a hereditary alignment, making circumcision of the offspring inadvisable. Mingled with the ideas that magical formulas for exorcising demons supposed to cause disease. The rabbis, like all of us, were experts on dietary wisdom being with the teeth, and these should never be extracted, no matter how much they ache. For if a man chews well with his teeth, his feet will find strength. Okay. Vegetable fruits. I think I want to stop it right there because it's a new topic, I think, going into, and I want to pause. I'm going to try to go back and just cap off what I was saying, about the contracts and all that, because when I was driving truck in the Houston area, got stuck in an 18-wheeler and going to all the chemical plants. Then, I started, after a year of listening to broadcast radio, I heard, okay, there's no law for this, there's no law for that. And it's like, okay, wait a minute, there's no law. It says I have to have a Social Security card. There's no law that says I have to have a driver's license. There's no law, and then all of a sudden I found out, wait a minute, there is no law. There is no law. There's no law? No, there's no law. Okay, because when we went under bankruptcy in the 1930s, banksters took over, and they were also partners with the Jewish mafia in Chicago. They're all the same buddies, the same people, whether bankers or gangsters. And so I was amazed that to find out that they when we went under bankruptcy, then we had the Emergency War Powers Act, and we were declared the enemy. Okay, and then they put everything under license. You know, if you want to be a doctor, you had to have a medical license. If you wanted to be this, you had to have a license. You want to be that, you had to have a license. And it's the lie sense. It's a big lie. See, so everything's based on a lie sense, and so I just wanted to get that, get that out, because it was an important part of the narrative when we're coming off of the political. Well, Shelley, we got 20 subscribers now. Phew, we're making history right now. Okay, I can't get over it. New record, ding, ding, ding. And so literally, there is no law, ladies and gentlemen. There is no law. Okay, and so we're under public policy, and the policy is just keep the shell game going. Keep the shell game going. Okay, and that's the great irony of our age. So it's like, people, they still love the beast. They still love my beast. It's my beast, and and isn't it a nice beast? And they will talk about America like it's the red, white, and blue is better than any other red, white, and blue. Okay, wait a minute. Let's see. The French flag is red, white, and blue. The Russian flag is red, white, and blue. The British flag is red, white, and blue. Wait a minute. I think we're all red, white, and black and blue, right? I mean, come on. So we've all been beaten up. We see what they're doing to our friends and our family, and people get away literally with murder, and especially when they got the grand handling sign and the secret handshake, and they've taken blood oaths to protect their brotherhood, even in cases that include murder. And the Jewish banking has the Kol Nidre, the oath that cancels all other oaths, and they take it once a year and say, any oath or vow or agreement I've ever made will be null and void for the next year. And an oath will not be an oath. A vow will not be a vow. And I can do whatever I want, and it's okay. And I can kill anybody I want, because the Babylonian Talmud tells me I can do that, because they're goyim and they're not really people anyway. Only my brotherhood, my select group, is qualified as being people. So that's really how that happens, ladies and gentlemen, what they're doing in our crazy world. Okay, so I just wanted to include that, because it's a lie sense. Okay, that's what lie sense means. License is a lie, and it's a sense of, because there is no law. Okay, and that's the trickery. I'm not suggesting you throw your lie sense away, though. Okay, because like the scripture says, are you a slave? Just be a good slave. Okay, because you got to obey all the rules, the codes. Otherwise, you're going to have a rough time, because you better know legal kung fu real well, because otherwise, you're gonna pay in another way. Okay, so I just wanted to give an example of translation, and I hope I never forget not to unpress my button again like that, because boy, I got a mouthful out and didn't even, and all of a sudden I saw my button blinking, and I'm thinking, wait a minute. I shut off okay, never mind. Okay, so I want to give you an example here of the challenges we have with translations. Ninja doesn't have one to throw away. Okay, and so an example of is I was reading today when Rachel. This is out of Genesis, of course, and when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister Leah, and she said to Jacob, give me children or else I die. Okay, and so this is what we've been handed within our scripture, but she didn't say that, because what it says next here is, in Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in Yahweh's stead, who has withheld from you the fruit of your womb? But so she didn't say, or else I die. This is the reason he was mad, is because she says, or else I will kill myself. That's what she would have said, or else I will kill myself. Okay, and so that's why it says then Jacob's anger was kindled. Okay, because if she was just feeling bad and said, I'm going to die, he wouldn't have been angry. But what she was saying was, I'm going to kill myself. See, she's sort of like putting it back on him. Okay, you either give me a baby or I'm killing myself. Wait a minute. So there is an example, perfect example, and this is why, again, correcting these translations are so. It's like, how come nobody gets it? And well, we know why they do get it, but they're not given it, right? That's the point. They get it, They know it, and all of our scriptures have been corrupt. This is out of the book of well, I still transliterate it because it still says in here, or else I die, just like the King James. But I'm going through for a second time now the book of Yahweh, and the Yahweh's Bible that came from 1,000 years ago. And there's minor differences in here that I'm comparing, and that's why you have to compare all the versions that are out there, because they're isn't that interesting? That version sounds like diversion, huh? Okay. All right. And let me see here. Do I want to read Zakeh? Let's see. It's 11. Started at 9:30. I got the page tag here. Chaos and the method. I'm trying to remember what this. Okay, I got some pretty good. All right. I want to pick it up where Zakeh is going. Where he's talking about. It's great to get a second witness with the fact that something's rotten in Denmark. Okay, and it goes back to the Vatican, of course. And so what he's saying here is faith stands on the side, and because he had the last read I just did the other day was pretty telling, where he exposed the priesthood and all that. So faith stands on the side of reason outside of history and of science. It belongs to the inner consciousness of the individual, free to believe that what he pleases. Faith can rest satisfied with mystery. Indeed, mystery is a necessity to it. The origins of Christianity, on the other hand, are in the domain of history. Ninja will call in 5 minutes. Okay, thank you, Shelley. The origins of history, on the other hand, are in the domain of history. The church indeed has composed her history from the standpoint of religious faith, but what is it worth historically? We propose to consider its credentials. With the Christian faith, we have nothing to do. The religious and scientific points of view are not opposed to one another. They are mutually exclusive. Nor can the ingenious denials of certain intellects, great but for this weakness, alter the facts and exclude each other. Reason permits no mystery. It must explain everything. And I remember now, I did read that the other day. I think it was with Ninja. And so I'll post it right there. I got to remember to pull my Post-it notes. I got so many books I'm going into, and then I got to remember to move my tags. So forgive me. Yeah, Ninja can call in anytime. I could use a break. I'm just it's been I had a interesting day today, and wore myself down pretty good. I did a power walk, and I hadn't been walking for last couple of weeks, and so I literally just I think I'm feeling it right now, and that's good. I'm feeling it because it shows me how much I need to get going and get back in my rhythm of working out. I go through cycles. I work out, then I read, then I work out, then I read, and it's like, okay, there's not enough time in a day to do both, and that's the thing. And when you're not 20 anymore, because boy, when I was 20, I was able to build houses all day and do remodeling at night till midnight and get up at 6 in the morning and get going again. I can't get over the energy I had when I was young, and now how I struggle. Gotta love the serpent. Okay, loyalty to the wife. Okay, this is in Lamsa, Old Testament light. Loyalty to the wife. Therefore shall a man leave his father and mother and shall cleave to his wife, and they shall be one flesh. But the interesting thing is it's really a reversal, because it wasn't the man who left his father and mother, it was the woman. Every instance, you show me, tell me it isn't so, okay? Because it was always the woman who left the mother and father and was joined to her husband, because the husband had the estate. He received the inheritance. Genesis 2:24. That's one of the great evidence of the switch out, ladies and gentlemen, right there. This verse may have been copied from a marginal note revealed to a prophet or a man of Yahweh at this early time. There were neither fathers nor mothers nor other women. In the East, the marginal notes are sometimes incorporated into new texts, especially in the writing. So without a doubt, as Lams is pointing out here, it was perhaps a marginal note that was incorporated. Well, no matter how you look at it, it was the Masoretes, the Jews, who incorporated this into our scriptures. Okay, he's alluding to it, and that's really what happened. Okay, because as I just said, the opposite is true. And so what they were doing, you think that the Masorite Jews out of Switzerland, the Khazars, the bankers working for the Vatican, that they would want to give you legitimate scriptures? Of course not. They love the Christians? No, they hate the Christians. They, you know what I mean? And so there you go. You see, there's a wonderful eye opener from Lamsa about how they approached this. Okay, so continuing on here. Let me just read that again. In the East, marginal notes are sometimes incorporated into the new text, especially if the writing is the work of an Ashan or of a man or a priest. Scribes, who are the copyists, generally copy any important material which is written on the margins of the manuscript. In the early days, before the scrolls were canonized, new material was inserted into the new scrolls. The Old Testament was canonized at the Jewish Council. I like that canon. They put it in a cannon and they shoot it out at you, the canon. And it was canonized at the Jewish Council of the Jannes about the 1st century after Christ. Let me get this call. It looks like we got Ninja calling in. Ninja, you're on the broadcast. How are you?
G'day, sorry to interrupt.
You're not interrupting. You're saving me. Thank you very much.
No worries. Seriously. Okay. Sorry, I'm trying to get the chat up on the computer as well, and Ninja keeps wanting attention at the perfect moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah, I'm okay. I'm better than I was last time I called in, so.
Good.
That's a good thing. Yeah. Life is full of frustration at the moment, but I'm a trooper. I'm a ninja. So, yeah. I have a question.
Okay.
I want to know how you are first. How are you?
Well, excuse me. I'm on overload, as you can tell, and I'm just I'm trying to make lemonade out of lemons, and there's plenty of lemons, so there's plenty of room to make lemonade. So, all right. Shelley says, "Welcome to the jungle."
Yes, I just saw that. I just got the chat up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It is a jungle out there.
That's right.
Yeah. My question, when you were reading before, and you were talking about, or you were reading I don't want to say rules, the requirements to pray before each meal. Yeah, that's like, I have a challenge with that, with Mum.
Uh-huh.
Is that truth? Like, do we have to give thanks and create light before every meal? And is it okay to do it in my head?
Yeah.
Before every meal.
Okay. Well.
Is that okay?
Right. We give thanks for all things, and so I don't. In other words, the scripture says not to be like the hypocrites that pray publicly. So I do not sometimes you'll see people in a public restaurant and they'll all bow their heads together and give thanks. I don't do that publicly. If I were having my meal publicly somewhere, I would give thanks in my heart and in my mind, and then that way I'm doing it in secret, as Yeshua said to do. But if I'm home, I might be by myself, or if I were with a loved one, I might be inclined to hold hands and give thanks with a family member. Or if I were alone, I might be inclined to even get on my knees prior to eating my meal, and give thanks. Sometimes we're in a hurry, and so I might be inclined at home even just to give thanks real quick, say thank you, Father, for this food. I appreciate it. Or sometimes going too quick and not even give thanks. It's not that you have to give thanks. If you're giving thanks for all things, and from the beginning of your day to the end of your day, then the Father knows that if you're busy, or rushed, or feel rushed, you might just say thank you, Father, for this great meal. Simple as that. Boom. But other times you may be inclined, when you have the freedom of time, then to do a more solemn form of giving of thanks. So we're free spirits, and I don't like getting locked into ritual, because ritual was the error that priesthoods gave us. So I follow what feels right at the time, and I attempt to follow also the guidelines that are given to us in the scriptures. So that's how
Yeah,
I
that
approach
makes
it.
sense.
Mhm.
That makes sense. Like do everything from the heart and
Yeah.
your way,
Yeah.
but do what's required.
Yeah. Now.
But in your way.
Yeah. And so if you're with mixed company, well, certainly you would then do it in your closet, which is in your mind or your heart, because the mixed company, it would be awkward to do it in front of them when they have no mind or interest in the spirit. Now, now
that's the issue I'm having. Sorry to cut you off.
that's all right.
That's the issue I'm having. I can't do anything in front of Mum. It's got to that point.
And you don't need to, because you do it in secret. He says he will reward you openly. So do those things in secret. He sees. That's all you care about. You're only attempting to get his recognition. Now, Paul, when he was on a boat for 2 weeks, that was in a storm, because the people were in fear of their life. When they finally broke bread, he gave thanks in front of everyone, because everyone thought they were dead. And so he was taking the opportunity to reassure people that there is a Father of light that rules our world, and that he is in charge, and so that was a different situation. So every situation is different, and therefore we have to assess it with a rational mind, and following also the guidelines.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Because I find that doing the things that I really want to do to bring me closer with Yeshua are the hardest things. And the most frustrating times. And knowing that I can do it whichever way is possible at the time is reassuring. So thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So your mom, what you attempted to give thanks in front of her? Is that what you were attempting to do, or?
Well, just trying to listen to this program today. She's constantly bored, and she can see that I'm trying to listen, but it doesn't register. And she gets bored really quickly. She gets fed up really quickly, and it's all negative when I'm trying to listen. Do the one thing that I love to do, listen to this program.
Yeah.
Everything else is about her, and it's just frustrating. And because it's daytime here, I've been multitasking and looking after the animals as well, and following Mum around and making sure that we eat. And we were eating when you spoke of prayer before having meals. answered the question because
Yeah.
in this house, those times end up being the most frustrating times because Mum gets food. Getting her to get to the food to eat it is an issue, and then getting her to sit down for long enough without being distracted is also an issue. It's just constant frustration, and so being able to do that any way I can is great. being able to give thanks, it might help. You never know, it might help create a little more peace around meal times. Just any time that's supposed to be relaxation time in this house is the most extreme times. It's all opposite here, and so thank you. You've inspired me to use my creativity and do anything I can.
And forgive your mom, of course, because she's in a difficult situation mentally with her physical conditions, her medical condition, and therefore it should be easier to even forgive her and just create life for her. We know your struggle is great over there, and we want you to to find a solution, and the solution still seems to be. It sounds, really like your mom needs the professional nursing home type situation, and
getting to that point. It's too much for me. Also, being the daughter is emotionally draining. It's too much, and because we're family, the way it affects me affects Mum as well. Like, I'm starting to show my frustration with her, and that's not good. It's not good for either of us. So it's getting to that point of it. But of any way that I can create light and bring a little more peace into this household right now would be wonderful. Hang on. I'll be out in a minute. Sorry.
That's right. We're the Real Public Radio. Don't forget, okay?
So, I'm going to have to end it soon because the interruptions will just keep going.
Shelley says she's creating light for you right now. And we all do.
I love you guys. And I also want to encourage anybody and everybody to please call in because it helps. These phone calls on the live streams, going right back to almost this time last year, have saved my life and given me strength. So please call in, guys. Yes.
And I was curious, how did I had a note here for Kip if he called back, because I noticed I missed a question of his and I wanted to answer it. I was hoping he'd call in tonight, but it seemed like you had you knew him. So is he a new listener on your channel, or how did you meet him? He's a truck driver. I got that in common with him.
His channel showed up in my recommendations, and I noticed that he was showing things in a way that I could see them, like regarding skywatching. And so I checked out his channel, and we just communicated through the comments, and and then he came over. He's visited the Chronicles once before, but it was only a couple. He only said a couple of things in there. He came in to say hello and say it was a lovely little program. So I thought that was nice, and I could see that he had the possibility of getting it, of giving it a bit of time and So I was really hoping he would come back. So that was wonderful seeing him in there. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I enjoyed.
So he's cool. He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, it was a great interaction. No, I really appreciated it. You know. So so hopefully we'll hear from Kip again. And
I sent him a couple of the PDFs. I'm trying to track down the Book of Wisdom. It's in my phone, but I'm just juggling and figuring out how to get it to the PC so that I can send it to him, because my phone's not that great at the moment.
Yeah.
It's hard to send.
Shelley says,
Send him the other two.
Shelley says she has it if you need it. Okay. She's got it if you need it. She just said.
Sorry?
Shelley has it. She just said, I have it. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
I've got it.
You got it.
I've got it printed out. Before I got the PC, I printed it out from my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Book of Wisdom is available. If anybody wants it, they can contact Ninja or Shelley, from this broadcast. And and it's on PDF. So the Book of Wisdom is the greatest Book of Wisdom ever written. It's written by Joseph of Arimathea, the great uncle of Yeshua, and it's a must read. It's a mind blower. Okay.
It's amazing. I know, it's amazing. I go to it often for advice.
Yeah.
And clarity. So I'll figure it out when I get time tonight. I didn't do anything online last night. I slept for 12 hours and woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. And I am 100% sure that is from the controlled cold weather here. It's very draining. Yeah. So I'll jump on the PC later on tonight and get to the Book of Wisdom. I'll figure it out. If I can't do it tonight, Shelley, I'll get you to send it to him. And thank you. Thank you. You're always here.
Yeah, and certainly. I'm interested. I'm kind of curious what he's been seeing out there, being a truck driver. Because they go everywhere, see everything. So I was rather curious, wanting to talk to him. I looked on his thing for his phone number, but he didn't have it posted. But tell him he's in.
He's got his email there.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway, we'll talk to him again on the program, I'm sure, and then just give thanks for all things, Ninja, and know that the Father sees your struggle. He knows all of us are struggling, and he's given me this information that I share, not because I'm worthy of it, but because he wants everyone to hear the truth about our history, about our true nature, and also the correct scriptures. All of these things that we've been denied. So we've got a lot of catching up to do, because we have to reverse. I'm trying to think of the right way to say it. Reverse engineer, our brains, because we've really been made married. That's the word, married to our our planet. We've been. This is why, and this leads to a couple scriptures. We've got two examples. One with Isaac and his wife Rebecca. Was it Rebecca? Isaac? Rebecca. And then also Abraham with Yochelleg, or Sarah. And in both instances, when they
I'm sorry.
You got to go.
I'm on the phone.
Okay. Yeah. And
I won't be long.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry, Desert.
All right. So when they went to Dezert, Egypt, or to the Philistines, they said that in reference to their wife, they said that she is not my wife, she is my sister, and so there's a story. It's a metaphorical allegory, and it means that we think of the earth as our natural place, or in effect what it implies is that we are married. We find out that we're married to the earth because this is all that we can see. And then how tragic it is, of course, when we leave it, because we don't really think we're going anywhere else. We don't know where we're going. And but so to say she's my sister is then another metaphor to say, no, I'm not married to her. She is just my sister. She is my sister, being, of course, the correct original thought on that is the cistern. One aspect is the cistern, which means my spring of fresh water of truth, my spring of fresh water of truth, because that's what water represents, is truth, or my Esha Vetor, my royal eye of power, because the woman represents nature and woman represents creation. So, but to say that I'm not married to her, and because everything is temporary in the material world. So that's what these stories are about. They're telling us that. So okay, so that's relevant truth, because we all we can identify with is our body, and then everything we see around us, and that is everything we see around us, and including our body has an end. And so we have to identify with the spirit, because that is what we are, and that's what we can't see. Yeah, it's what we can't see until we start looking. We have to look hard. Yeah, and there's Jet. Jet, good to have you tonight. And she just lost a family member, a tragic situation. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's sad.
Yeah.
Oh, creating light for you, Jet. Wow. Hope you're doing okay. Yeah. Wow. Oh.
All right.
Yeah. I don't have no words. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
There we.
Just all wow.
All right.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm gonna have to go.
yeah, I know your mom. Mom needs help. I'm just giving you a form here, and I sure appreciate your calling in, and hope again that things will work out for you soon, and that you can relocate. Just keep making plans. Keep looking for opportunities. They will come up. Okay. There's something for you out there. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, Ninja. All right.
Love all of you. Thank you for being here again. You guys are my rock, and definitely you, Desert. Thank you. I'm really glad to know you. I really am.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I'm glad to know. I have a whole. I didn't know any of you over the last year. The 12 friends I have never call me, and then I have this whole group from the last. Once I started June 21st, 2018. I had no idea when I was alone, and I had nobody to talk to. My phone could go 2-3 weeks without a phone call, and then all of a sudden I had all of these beautiful people listening in, because they also, I was going to the channels of the Sky Watchers and other people like that. I was just being social and saying, hey, how's it going? Nice. Thank you. I was thanking people for their wonderful work. And then one day I figured out finally, after a year of sabotage, how to turn on my channel again. And these people had already subscribed. And as soon as I turned it on, it was like, whoa, there's already half a dozen people there coming in, checking me out. Look at this. I got a good to go audience. An instant audience. I was like, I never had this before. So I just started talking, and then I'm testing it, and I'm saying, hey, they're saying, okay, audio good. All right, great, boom. So it was like, okay. So as soon as I started broadcasting, I had an instant small group of people that were interested in what I wanted to talk about with the Forbidden History. And then and I just kept rolling. I didn't even have music at the time. I was just opening, doing my own song and dance. And then little by little, I kept adding something to it. And then it went for what? About 6, June, okay, October. Oh, well, not too long, 4 months, 5 months, and then my computer crashed, and then you started carrying me, actually. So I can't get over it. It seemed like it was longer than that, but 4 months, Yeah, and we had a lot of technical problems at first. I kept hanging in there with you, and knew that you'd eventually work it out. And then now Shelley has picked up the ball as well. And I said, hey, why do I even need to do broadcasting anymore with my channel? You know, I got these wonderful creative engineers, Yochelleggers, and it frees me up just to do what I do, other than when I forget to press the button. You know, to talk. You should have heard it. I was a classic just a little while ago. I'll never do it again. You know, and it was like, and then I looked down and the thing's blinking, and I'm saying, what? Oh, geez. And, you know, and I was watching the conversations and nobody's saying, where's Desert? You know, and like, okay, he must have gone out for coffee. You know, he's gone. He's not been here for 10 minutes now and nobody said anything. So I'm like, oh, geez. Anyway, that's okay. I can laugh at it now. You know, felt kind of rough at first, but.
Repeated if the music was repeated for a fourth time, that's when I would have started wondering in the comments.
Well, when the song ended. That you were saying to Shelley, just no.
a bit longer, please.
No, you see what happened when the song ended. I muted it. I muted it, and I started talking, and I don't know how I didn't press the button. I may have, but I didn't work. You know, and because I've had problem with that button before. So that's the thing. You know, I was back. You know, and the song was over. So I'm not gonna. I'm not going to go have breakfast while everybody's on the chat. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right.
I've done the same thing. Like, that's why it takes me I won't say 2 or 3, I'll say 3 or 4 goes, just making a video. Because I'll make the whole video in one go and then go back and listen and it's been on mute. I've done the same thing. Just make a video instead of it.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, oh, no.
Yeah.
I have to remember what I said and make it sound like it's spontaneous. And,
that's the fun of broadcasting, yeah. But anyway, I finally, after the Talmud, then I got back in and I just mentioned real quick my points. Without the quality that I, spontaneity that I had at that first instant, I still at least got the message out, and that was what's important. So I got it, and I lost my rhythm though. You could tell I was like a fish out of water, flapping on the ground. What am I going to do now? Okay, great. So you need to go help Mom, and I need to get back on broadcasting. So Ninja, we'll see you. Don't forget, we're here tomorrow after the sun comes up. It'll be about near high noon, and you can join us. And I think that's a better time for you. And then we'll.
I'm coming. I'll be there in a minute. I'm on the phone. I'm coming. I'm sorry.
That's all right. We're the Real Public Radio. Okay, so everything's good, and we'll look for you on the chat. All right. All the best to your mom. Tough world.
Thank you.
All right, Ninja.
Thank you. Yes. Love you guys, and peace and light always.
All right. See you on the side. Bye.
See ya.
All righty. All righty. So there's Ninja, and it's the medical world. What all the food and all the drugs have done for us. Her poor mom just has debilitating mental qualities, and I think I'm going there too. So we're all in the same boat. We're breathing bad air, drinking bad water. All the food is bad, and nothing good anywhere, it seems like, other than the spiritual truth. And even they corrupted that, So like, wow. Right. And Jet, hope you're doing okay. And wish you all the best for your family that are going through a difficult situation right now with I think you said your nephew was killed on his motorcycle. And so we wish that, no, what is this? Great herb for the mind. Oh, okay. You're referring to an herb. Yeah. So, okay. So let's get back into New Testament light, and we'll wrap it up. I've got just 2 more segments here real quick, and then, yeah. Okay. So take your cross. Well, this is a good one. This is out of New Testament Light by George Lamb. So take your cross. Then said Yeshua to his truth seekers, if any Ashan will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. Matthew 16:24. And take up your cross in Aramaic is another way of saying risk your life. In Aramaic, we also say take your blood in your hand, which means you may be exposed to great dangers and may die at any time. It was the custom in Yeshua's day for victims to carry their own crosses, signifying that they bore their own guilt. The cross was so dreaded that some people thought they would be defiled if they so much as touched it by accident. This is because its victims were condemned, criminals who had committed crimes or unforgivable sins or had blasphemed against Yahweh. Only the worst criminals met this kind of death. The victims bore their crosses as a sign that they were bearing their own guilt and paying the supreme penalty. While they walked bent under their heavy crosses, they were mindful of the hour when they would be nailed on the cross. Moreover, the people watched them carrying their crosses, and it was a lesson to those who had evil inclinations, rebellious men, and those who dared to resist the imperial government. Christians were admonished to be ready to die for the teachings of their healer and sunrise. Yeshua knew his teaching was a contradiction of the old way of life of the government authorities. Therefore, he knew his followers must be constantly aware of the dangers which would confront them, and that many of them might die on the cross. Romans 8:17. So see Romans 8:17. And rather interesting, in Psalm 22 is a clear depiction of Yeshua being crucified. Psalm 22, go read it. And that was written at a time before crucifixion even existed, showing how predictive, prophetic it was as a scripture, and even refers to the priesthood as dogs. The dogs compass me about. The priesthood is being called dogs right there, and of course most people reading it wouldn't get it unless you heard Desert mention that the dogs are the priesthood, because nobody ever told me that. And but we have to read these things in such a more profound way, And so I let's see here. I just want to see if I got something short left in the wisdom of the. No. Hang on. I want to see if I can find one more thing that we could share with you. But that's a big one. Okay, here's an interesting one. Let's read this real quick, and then we'll wrap it up, unless anybody else has a comment or a question, okay? Dog tags, right? Well, the priesthood got everybody wearing a tag so that they could identify the slaves. The soldiers are the soul dyers. They're dying left and right. The soul dyers. The sun is dying. The soul is dying. The soul dyers, soldiers. And they put the V for victory on the tanks, of course, and V's on their stripes, on their shirts, but the V is supposed to stand for virgin and the garden, and there it is, their idea of flower, flow. Listen to the word flower, flow, war, the flow of war. Okay, so flower is the flow. Oh, doesn't it smell nice? Oh, the flow of war. I love napalm in the morning, don't you? Sure, the smell of death. That's just so beautiful. Flower, flow, war. And another one that's interesting, since we're talking about wars, when they got sliced and diced on the battlefield, I just can't imagine, being on a battlefield, slicing and dicing other people and getting sliced and diced at the same time. But then if they get sliced and diced enough, then they get the hero wine. The hero wine. They say, bring some hero wine over here. And hero wine is for heroes, and it is the heroine. Heroine is the hero wine. Don't worry, I won't feel the pain anymore. Just give me some quick, please. And there's your hero wine, okay? And so it's in the Eish of War. I didn't make this stuff up, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, you heard it here first, but I'm just giving you the words, okay? giving you the words, and so now I'm going to give you an example of the word Egypt, which correctly it's Meitzar. And from the point of view of the Greeks and Hebrews, Meitzar is a symbol of the lower mental plane with its knowledge of the things of the world and the objects of desire. Well, it seems like that's what we've been talking about. And and then the quote Matthew 2:15, out of Egypt, or Meitzar, out of Meitzar did I call my son, unquote. Out of mental experiences or learning is the divine child, the son of mind, man, educated, enlightened perhaps, as a means to the end of the soul's solnovation. This Egypt that is our present life, which oppressed us when flattering, may aid when pressing us, and that which, when cherishing, crushed us with the yoke of bondage, may show the way of liberty while it tortures. St. Gregory, Morals on the Book of Job, Volume 3, page 147. In the word by Egypt is signifying the science of the natural man. In denoting the world and the body, Egypt denotes the lessons to be derived from both of these, the learning of which is indispensable to the soul's development. That comes from the perfect way. And then we have a couple more on Egypt we'll do at another time. Okay, it's getting late, and I just wanted to get something out of the book of Scriptures and Myths. And we have a lot of ground to cover, ladies and gentlemen, in the days ahead, and some really good material we'll be going over. And I want to welcome any new listeners to the broadcast here tonight, and I appreciate all of your participation. And hola, see me now, Agent X11. Hola, hello. My family are heads of evil, CIA, NSA, NASA, and are heads of MK Ultra. Well, that's an interesting group of people, and perhaps we have a story for another day there. Okay, so hope all of you will come back and join us at the next broadcast, and that you'll tell a friend as well, won't you? And so you did tell your friends, right? Okay, well, thank you for doing that. And so don't forget, I'm Dezert-Owl telling you, if you want to know the future, then just look for the Forbidden History, because it's all right here, coming your way, 7 days a week, what they didn't want you to know, that we tell. You did tell your friends? Okay, well, go get them, and then we'll look for you tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, on the broadcast here, once more on Forbidden History Live. And thank you for coming by. Peace and love.